Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about occupancy permits. How do you manage occupancy permits when it comes to midterm rentals? So first, let's start with what is an occupancy permit. So basically, in certain cities, not all, but certain cities or townships, they require that you have permission to occupy a property, and that's all it is. So usually, what happens is you have a property, whether you own it or you rent it. That property has to be inspected by the city or the township. They say yes or no whether it's okay to occupy, or they might tell you you have to make some repairs before it can be occupied. Once you make those repairs and everything is good to go, they re-inspect, and they give you a pass. Once your property passes the inspection, then you can go to the city hall and apply for a occupancy permit. That is basically saying you have permission to occupy this property. They usually want to know who is all living in the house. So you have to list the number of people, their names, their ages, the cars. So you have to put your car information. If you have any pets, a lot of times they want to know the pets, the breeds, the weights, and things like that. So all of that goes in the occupancy permit, and it is housed at the city hall. Now, the issue is that for me, my name comes up multiple times on different occupancy permits within a certain city. So that has raised a red flag, and I will discuss what we have done to overcome that. So with occupancy permits, basically this does not relate to short-term rentals unless a city has imposed some type of regulation or something where people have to have a permit for short-term rentals. Occupancy permits are usually for long-term rentals, okay? And this is pretty standard. Not every city does this, but a lot of them do, okay? So for long-term rentals, usually whenever somebody is moving into a new property that they have just bought or they have tenants, those tenants have to go register to get an occupancy permit, okay? Now, remember, midterm rentals fall under the long-term rental regulations. So that is why it's coming up as an issue with the midterm rentals. Because I'm doing rental arbitrage on a lot of different properties in a certain area, well, actually a couple areas, but there's been one city where it has been more of an issue because I have more properties in that area. Basically, they think or they're trying to make sure I'm not doing short-term renting. We have, and now when I say we, I am referring to the property manager and myself have made it very clear that I am not doing short-term rentals. I am doing corporate rentals or midterm rentals. We explained exactly what my business model is and that people are staying in the properties for 3 months or longer. Now, before I used to be able to go get the occupancy permits myself because my name is on the lease. So I would be able to go get the occupancy permits myself. But now that I have so many and I have to go get multiple permits at one time, that has caused another issue because I think I was under the radar before and now I'm not. So what has happened, and this is again in the past, but I just want to recap some issues that I have had. So what has happened is the actual landlord, the owner of the properties, um, he hired an attorney because the city was telling me that I could no longer put my name on the occupancy permit because I'm not living in the property. The law states that I don't have to necessarily live in the property. Their job as the city is to give me permission to occupy the property. It's none of their business what I do, if I live in it or not. That is not their business. Their only business is to give me permission to occupy and say, yes, this property is safe to occupy, and we have your name as the occupant, right? So basically, the owner hired an attorney because what they were doing was illegal, and the attorney had to go to that city and work with their city attorney and the mayor and my property manager to get all of this stuff resolved. Now, I know I am not the only person who has to deal with occupancy permits. So, this is one thing you need to check on during your due diligence process. So, whenever you're looking at a particular area, look at what the rules are around occupancy permits. And also pay attention when you're getting more than one property in a certain city. Make sure you are aware or you think about, hey, I might get flagged, or they might say something if they see my name on multiple occupancy permits or see me come up here to apply for multiple occupancy permits. So during the transitional period of when they would not allow me to apply for the occupancy permit, and the attorney was basically going back and kind of fighting on my behalf and the homeowner's behalf, I had to have my actual guests go apply for the occupancy permits themselves. Now, this is something I did not want to do because it's part of really customer service. I'd rather go ahead, go apply for the occupancy permit, pay for it, and make sure everything is on the up and up and I have that permit, because I have to turn that permit over to the HOA and then I have to get another permit from them. So it's a whole process, but I like to do it myself to make sure it's done correctly and that the HOA has what they need so we don't have any problems. Now, another issue with that is my name is on the lease. The HOA has the lease, so my name has to be on the occupancy permit when I turn that over to the HOA, because it all has to line up. Now, I hope I'm not confusing you guys, because these are two different processes. I'm talking about the occupancy permit with the city, and I'm talking about an occupancy permit with the HOA. The HOA requires the occupancy permit from the city to be on file, and it has to match their records, which has the lease, and their occupancy form, which all has my name on it. The dilemma was, if my name could not go on the occupancy permit from the city, then it would not work out with the rules for the HOA. So you can see this kind of had snowballed into a whole thing where I was actually at one point having guests like already ready and booked, coming like within the next week or two, and this issue was popping up. And I was like, oh my gosh. So basically, temporarily, I did have to have my guests go apply for those occupancy permits, and then we had to do a workaround later on once everything got resolved between the city and the HOA. Big thing. So again, this is just one of those things where you might want to just keep it in mind. If you have to get an occupancy permit, understand what is going to be required for that occupancy permit. And if you have multiple properties in the same area, you might want to stagger when you go get those occupancy permits. Now, in my case, I could not stagger it. Everybody was pretty much coming within 1 week, and I had 5 people coming within 1 week. So I couldn't stagger it. I couldn't like go under the radar like I have been. And I thought this issue was resolved because the property manager had spoken to the mayor and the city attorney already and gave me the green light to go to City Hall and apply for these permits. But again, when it comes to the people who actually do the job, it's a different story. So long story short, once again, make sure you check out those occupancy permits. Make sure you know what's required of you. And if your guest has to go apply for those permits in advance, make sure they are aware of that. You can have your guest pay the fee, or you can pay the fee as a courtesy and just basically bill it through your guests. Whatever they pay you, you just take it out of that, just charge them a little bit extra. You can do it that way. But however you want to do it, make sure you know what you need to do to get those occupancy permits so you can stay above board and continue to run your business in any community. Now, I hope this video helped you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you check out the description, because I often have my free stuff down there and my online courses down there, as well as ways you can work with me directly if you want to learn about this midterm rental business. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good week. Bye.